5:18 on this Tuesday afternoon. We're back, and I'm very pleased to tell you that our guest is UN Art Ambassador Ibiyinka Alao. Did I get it right?
Very good, very good. Thank
you so much for coming in this afternoon. I appreciate you being here today very much.
Thanks for having me, LA.
When you were on with Lisa on Late Edition Friday night, I ran into somebody on Saturday afternoon, and he said, he's the art ambassador for the United Nations, and he's in Hazleton. And I said, yes, and he's been here before. How did he get to Hazleton? So how did you get to Hazleton?
Well, it's an honor, first of all, to be here, and it's always a blessing to travel around. The way I came to Hazleton last year was the first time during the summer. I was invited to speak at some of the local schools and also at the Rotary Club of Hazleton. And so that's when I saw the place. I went to some of the elementary schools, some of the high schools, the MMI, Preparatory Academy, and all just such wonderful schools. So I saw the area, I fell in love with it. I just think Hazleton is a great town. I love everyone I've met. Have been just so wonderful towards me. And so that's why I came back this year. It's very close to New York City,
right?
So which it makes the commute back and forth very comfortable.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. You're from the UN to here.
That's right. That's right. So that's the short form of the story.
You obviously were very well received. We covered some of those the classes that you put on for the school district last year, and it appears the students were very enthusiastic. And you did the workshop just yesterday at the Brainerd Church.
That's
pretty good crowd, and everybody
so wonderful, so wonderful. The thing about working with students and children is that they have such pure hearts, and as an artist and as an ambassador, they represent a world that is so fresh. And they will ask me questions that I'm always glad to answer them, to teach them about how to build a better world, how to, help each other, have tolerance for each other around the world. And so they share with me, some funny stories. I share with them some of the funny stories, some of my experiences in traveling around the world, and some of the parents as well. So yeah, it was a really wonderful program yesterday, and thanks for coming to cover it as well.
Yeah, we did. In fact, you saw the piece last night on Late Edition. How did you become the UN Art Ambassador? Because my understanding is I think you're the first one from Africa. Is that correct?
Right, that's right. So in a few years ago, about 10 years ago, there was a competition. It's a biannual competition. It's called the United Nations International Art Competition. And it's a competition that goes that is held amongst 61 countries. And so first of all, it's in the newspaper. So I saw it in the newspaper. I was practicing architecture. I studied architecture in college. And so when I saw it in the newspaper, I thought, well, it's kind of interesting because I like to paint. I like to make art. And so it's in 2 stages. You have to do this within your country. And whoever wins in that country gets to represent their country on the global capacity. So I won in Nigeria. I won the first place within the country of Nigeria. And then when it came to New York, amongst the 61 countries, mine won the first place again. So it was really shocking to me at the time, and of course I was delighted. And that's how the government of my country asked me to serve as an ambassador for the art and embedded me with the embassy to the UN in New York.
When you say you were in college, did you go to college in the United States, or was that in Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
It was in Nigeria.
It's called the University of Ife, and 6 years studied architecture. And once I finished, I only practiced for 3 years. And I love architecture very much, and I hope to do a little bit with it maybe after my tour is over.
Where, if someone were to look at a map of Africa, where is Nigeria?
So Nigeria is in West Africa. It's as you on the east coast here, by the Atlantic Ocean. So we have the Atlantic Ocean, so we are the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And Nigeria is next to Cameroon and the Benin Republic. And it's a country of about 180 million people, so about half the population of the United States. state. And although the land mass is maybe just the size of Texas plus the state of Missouri or something. So it's a lot of Nigeria. The way they describe it is amongst out of every 5 black person in the world, 1 is a Nigerian.
Yeah.
So you see, so many people.
It is one of the relatively few republics in Africa, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. It's I'm delighted to say, because in my time I have seen the military dictatorship in my country, but I've also seen the civilian administration now. It is a blessing to have democracy, and in fact, just from 1999 until now, the change has been so positive, very, very beautiful. People learn the value of dialogue and you know, the due process. Then the corruption has been a lot less than it was before. So, you know, my hope and prayer is that it will continue in that trend, and for those of us, the upcoming generation, the new generation, will be able to take advantage of that process.
Okay, stay with us. We'll be back in a few minutes. We are speaking with the UN Art Ambassador, Ibiyinka Alao. Did I get it right?
Yes,
okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think you did.
Joe will have weather wisdom when we come back, and then he and I will be back. Stay here. It's Topic A on WYLN. About 5:32 on this Tuesday afternoon. We are back with UN Art Ambassador Ibiyinka Alao. We were discussing the state of democracy in Nigeria.
That's right.
In Africa as a whole, Kenya, I know for a while, had a representative democracy,
yes,
and had been a pretty advanced country, was making...
yes, beautiful country.
Was trying to jump into the industrialized race,
yes,
and then skirmishes. And then, is that...
I know. Yeah, it's the reality of life generally around the world, but particularly Africa, because in my opinion, you see, Africa as a continent has been exposed to a melancholy of a maudlin temperament. Left alone by itself, it's sad because of everything that has been done to it, maybe from colonialism and things like that. But what's happening now is that Africa, she's had to combine that sadness with what is happening to her by her people, you know, the children of Africa, what we are doing to each other and what we are doing to the continent. So you have all these very brutal regimes that are, you know, governing various places. Thank goodness for what's happened with the Arab Spring, you know, so Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, you see that some of those dictatorships have been pushed out.
Yeah, but in some of those places, like in Egypt, for example, it's resulted in chaos ever since.
That's right. So, and of course, nothing good ever comes easy. And in fact, in the case of Egypt in particular, we are very concerned about it. But we think that what happened recently, because it's you can't go from a dictatorship to a totalitarianism, which is a Muslim sect kind of govern using the laws of a religion to govern all the people.
Right.
So whether it's Christian or Muslim, it's not ever good. And so we are very hopeful for it, actually. So maybe what's happening now would turn them towards the right direction.
Because the military has sort of taken over that country, the Muslim Brotherhood, which is to whom you were referring, has said, well, we're not going to have any part of it. And there are a lot of people in this country saying, okay, good, that's all right. So.
I know. It's it is a shame. So, but generally, though, it's I think we all depend on each other around the world, and it's actually part of my job as an ambassador for peace, because we say that at the end of the day, we are all equally human. So what is happening in Samoa or in Australia affects people in Tunisia or in Tanzania, affects people here in the United States. So the more we are all aware of these problems, the better. And the more we teach ourselves and our children about them, the more easily we get the solutions.
This is sort of an esoteric question, but I have to ask it of someone who's an artist anyway. When you talk about the conflicts between different people, does art have a role in trying to squelch or at least minimize those conflicts?
Yes, absolutely. The answer is yes. I think there is a limit to which conversations can go, discussions like actual articulating things to each other. But through art and music, we can open each other's hearts. Art is the only thing that really does open people's heart, and therefore we learn, we grow to know peace. And it is such a powerful tool. I learned it from very early in my life when I was just a little boy, painting these pictures in my home, and my mom and dad would tell me to express things that I'm passionate about, that are close to my heart, that I should express them through painting. Ever since that time, I saw that when I told the stories to people, either my dad's friends or just friends that come around the house, they listen in a very different kind of way than just talking to them that, oh, you should care about this thing or that thing. So art really does draw our heart to itself.
So it's sort of like another plane where conversation might be a little easier than on the ground.
That's right.
Well, during the break, this is a great statement, and I'm going to steal this from you and use just so you know. Art is frozen music.
Oh, yes.
What does that mean? That's great the way you said that. When you explained it, I went, yeah, I see what he means.
Yeah, in West Africa, generally we see art as frozen music because, the culture of going to a museum to look at art or a gallery or maybe to go to an opera house to listen to music, this came much later to Africa. We had art, we had music and all, but we didn't go to an institution to view or listen to them. They all happened in a festival. And you see, during the festival, you see the poet will write something, the visual artist will react to what the poet wrote, and then the musician will make music based off that. So people respond to each other.
So it's all sort of interactive.
That's right. So we don't see any of the art as different. We just see it all as the different waters from the same well. So you can draw the water of music, you can draw the water of painting,
right.
You can draw the water of writing or drama, so just all kind of things like that. And so that's where that came from, that art is frozen music. And if art is frozen music, it means writing is the vaporized form of art, because when we look at it very well, our collected words truly become the music of the soul and later become the visual, the frozen form of it.
I have to jump back to the Weather Center a second, but you just mentioned museums. What we do in the United States, for the most part, is we take art, at least particularly visual art, painting, sculptures, and we lock them away in this big building, and you got to drive 125 miles and pay $25 to get in the door to see them. That's not necessarily the way it's handled elsewhere in the world, is it?
I think there's something beautiful about it, of course, but I think the disadvantage of it is this very thing you just mentioned. Sometimes maybe it alienates some people, and some people are not just able to go. Or
never get exposed to it.
That's right. So, it makes it difficult. So art is for the people, and I think the more we make it available, the better.
Yeah, that was my point. When we come back, we're going to show you some examples of Mr. Alao's art, including the large piece that we have on display here. First, let's jump back to the Weather Center outside in the Bedrock Gardens Outdoor Weather Center. It's Joe G. Joe.
Well, thanks very much, L.A. It is...
It is 5:44 on this Tuesday afternoon, and I'm happy to tell you I am joined by UN Art Ambassador Ibiyinka Alao. Just put the map up here. So we were talking about Nigeria before, so we have some idea of exactly where it is. So there it is.
You see the Atlantic Ocean is what we see on our left, and all that brown region. So that right there is Nigeria.
So where you are, you're not that far from the equator. So Nigeria is a very warm country. Where South Africa, where it snows.
Oh yeah, that's right. Right. So we are only 14 degrees north of the equator. So very warm temperatures, 110, 120 sometimes. And the coldest we have is in the 60s. That's why, sometimes it's difficult for me to stay around here during the winter.
Yeah. And especially specifically here at Hazleton, because for times it's snowing like crazy here, and 20 miles away we'll experience rain. So
why do you people live here? It's true.
Just under 2,000 feet above sea level, a lot of strange things happen. You get used to it when you grow up here. Let's show some of his some of the pieces that he has done over the years. And
so all good art can be said to have two sweeping characteristics. The first one is that it embodies a message within an idiom of communication, that it tells a story from artist to the observer. And then the second characteristic is that it possesses a sense of mystery. Because of that mystery, sometimes what people believe in comes true in art. This first picture, for instance, I call it Mortal Failings. It's typical of a lot of my paintings. It's very colorful. You see a lot of music in it. So the idea of art being frozen music, it comes through that. You see that I've painted the people different colors to show their likeness of all people, and that it doesn't matter the skin color, it doesn't matter the creed or the language, it just matters what is inside us, and it's very celebratory. So joy is a strong theme in a lot of my art.
If we could change the next one general question I have. I'm far from an expert in any way, shape, or form, but I do know of the African art I've seen over the years. When I compare it to, say, European art, African art seems to have a lot of very vibrant colors. You don't see a lot of pastels or anything like you do in European art. Why is that?
Well, the simple answer to it would just be that we are very colorful people, as you can see in our dances and even in the language, the way we speak. Sometimes when I'm translating my language into English, people would tell me around here that that's so poetic, but it's just the way we talk to each other. And but aside from that, also the geographical location, we are closer to the sun. The sun is a lot brighter. Sometimes in the skies of West Africa, you can feel as if you can touch the sun. It's that close to you. And so that, I think, is why you see very bright colors in a lot of our art.
Let's bring up that picture.
So this next painting is called Can You See It? And whether, no matter what the religion background, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, just any religion, always comes through in art because of the mystery in it. And this particular one is inspired by a biblical story. I was raised as a Christian, and it's the story of Peter, one of the disciples of Christ. They went out fishing all day. They weren't successful, so Christ comes and says, put your nets on the good side of the river. When they did that, they made a big catch of fish. So what you see in that is there's the hand of God, or the hand of divine providence, on the top part of the picture. So, and the man and the boat casting the net. Some people can see, but even the person on the boat cannot see that hand of divine providence. That's why we pray that, good things will happen to us, and that there's always the hand of God guiding us all the way.
Let's see the next one.
The next picture is inspired by actually being homesick. So I made this one in New York City during the first year I stayed through the winter, and so it was so cold for me, and I rarely ever went out, and I began to be homesick, to think about my village a lot. And so you see what the women are doing. They are pounding yam. They sing around the mortar as they do that. So you hear sounds like that. They will do it in unison, and they will begin to sing so that they don't get too tired. I guess people do that around this part of the world as well, that when you are actively engaged in a laborious work, you begin to hum something, so that you don't get too tired. But you see the urgency of the sun I've shown with the yellow on the ground, the thatch roof on the hut. So some of us that have been to African villages, you see that this is just typical. This is what you see, and very sunny, and so I missed home a lot, and I made it then. And the next picture is So talking about the mystery again, if you look towards the two sides of the picture, the left and the right, you will notice two faces, which you may not see at first, just glancing through it. But the more you look at it, the
yes,
more you get to see.
Yes, I do. I didn't see them at first. Now I do see them. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
And so it's important to see those two faces, because this is
facing in opposite directions.
Exactly. The painting is called Ajaga, which translates to mean yoke. And it's about the red band binds the two faces together. You'll notice the giant foot, the two suns, and the hand over it. That there are all kinds of troubles in the world, but that sometimes when we are yoked to each other, we can learn from each other. We cannot know everything, except if we are yoked to parents or yoked to friends or yoked to teachers who are able to teach us various things. So that is a good example of that mystery. We have proverbs. We have a lot of proverbs. When we are children, the adults will teach us in proverbs a lot, or parables, so that when somebody tells you that there is light at the end of the tunnel, it doesn't usually mean that there's an actual tunnel you are passing through. It's just a message of encouragement, hope in the future.
This one, and then I want to go to the big one, because we're kind of running out of time here.
So this is the one that won the award, and it chronicles the life of a woman from infancy to old age, and how her values keeps changing with time, from the little girl to the girl child to the adult woman to the mother and the grandmother. So the original for it is at the UN headquarters in New York City.
Now we're going to show this one, the large one that we do have in what normally serves as our late edition interview set, and you're going to narrate a bit of what's in that.
That's right. So I try to act like your weatherman and point out the painting here. So what's happening? This is most of the pictures, the originals, they do look like this, and this one is called Grace, that even the world can pass through it, and it's inspired by the idea of a quilt. So the sky, you will notice the needle here. My mother is a tailor, and her name is also Grace, so that's why this picture is called Grace. And about sewing together, that there are several things that can happen to us in life. If you look at every color on the quilted sky as a different situation in life. Some colors in life we like, some we do not like. But at the end of the day, it doesn't usually matter what happens to us, or whether we like one color or another in life. It just matters that we tell our stories. The greatest minds, the greatest leaders we've ever had in the world are those who bad things happen to them, but good things happen to them as well. They didn't care. They just told their story. They let their story shine for us all to see. And so that's the general idea behind this picture. There are so many other things. You notice the monarch butterfly. The background is typical of the southern part of Nigeria, so you'll see the ocean, you'll see some of the rice paddies, and people working on the farm. Of course, Nigeria is a farming country, and before the discovery of the oil, that was our main export. And
I noticed they're all women again, but as I'm looking at your pictures, most of your paintings feature women rather than men. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, well, women are just more beautiful, maybe, but also I think they represent, in the life of a woman, you are able to see the changes in life a lot better, or it's more glaring. And they have emotions, and they are our mothers whom we see every time. And that's why in most African villages you will notice that women actually make most of the decisions that govern individual villages.
Well, that happens in this country too. Men just don't like to admit it, but it it happens here as well.
Well, yeah, it's they have it. I know it's sometimes we don't like to admit it, but they really do have that magic touch to life. And yeah, so that's the reason for it. But notice also that I emphasize the muscles and the bones a lot in a lot of my pictures. And then I use multicolors for the hands and the feet and all, to show the likeness of all people, that we may all have different skin color, speak different languages, have a different creed, but inside us is always the same, especially the heart, that the blood is always the same color, the things inside us are always the same. So if we can connect the heart with each other, maybe to help make a better world for us all.
I'm going to have to jump in and cut us off because I'm completely out of time. It was great having you here. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
This has been a really fun show. I got to tell you, it really was. When we come back, Joe will wrap it up. So stay here. It's Topic A on WYLN.
Dropping down into the upper 40s and some 50s out there.
Yeah, I'm looking at that 46, 47. That's all right.
All right.
All right, Joe will have new numbers for you tonight at 10 if it warrants. We got about a minute and a half left. You're in Greater Hazleton, I understand, until the 20th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. And then I'll be going over to New York City for the General Assembly, and also traveling to some other parts of the country, giving some lectures and workshops and things like that.
What are you going to be doing between today and the 20th around here?
Well, I'm just going to be visiting with friends and things like that. Maybe go to Philadelphia and sightsee.
That was one of those museums I was talking about. I was thinking of the Franklin Institute, the Philadelphia Art Museum. There's a lot of them in Philadelphia. There's a lot of places to go in Philadelphia.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. It's and there's the zoo there as well.
Yes,
which is always nice. Yeah, I love it. It's a great part, and for the growing ones, I always like to encourage them that above every other thing we do in life, it's necessary to act. So always put action into your thoughts.
All right, I'm afraid we are just about out of time. I'm going to start rolling the credits in a second. UN Art Ambassador Ibiyinka Alao, thank you so much for being here tonight. Programming note, tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of the Shepton mine disaster. Don Pachentz will be with me here tomorrow because Don did the last interviews with the two surviving miners, Davy Fellon and Henry Throne, and then the guy who covered it was Paul Cerula, was a friend of Don Pacentz's and mine, and I did the last interview with Don about Shepton. So we'll play parts of them, and we'll do that tomorrow on Topic A. Other than that, that does it. We'll see you tonight at 10.